He stated when I was adopted. Abruptly, all the focus and assets shifted to me. He asserted he abandoned higher education to aid father at the tool shop so they could finance my exclusive schooling fees, and Lucy cared for mother during her melancholy periods while I was at university. I questioned Warren why he never disclosed he forfeited higher education for me. He stated it wasn't my responsibility to concern about kin concessions then, but now I needed to act correctly and divide the legacy fairly. Lucy concurred and stated the equitable action would be to vend the residence and split all three equally. She stated lineage kin should prioritize, and I received ample benefits during upbringing that they lacked. Anderson interposed and stated the testament was lawfully enforceable, and there was no obligation for me to distribute anything. He stated if they desired to dispute it, they would need to engage their own attorney and demonstrate improper sway or cognitive impairment, which would be highly challenging given the context. Warren questioned Anderson on the total value of the residence and remaining holdings. Anderson stated he couldn't provide precise numbers without a complete evaluation, but approximated the residence alone at approximately $400,000 with extra reserves and ventures. Lucy began weeping then. Genuine tears, not the simulated ones from the burial. She stated she had charge card liabilities and couldn't sustain her housing costs much further. She implored me to be sensible and recall that we were kin irrespective of lineage. Warren attempted an alternative tactic. He stated he grasped why mother and father bequeathed me the residence, but proposed I could secure a loan on it to provide them each $50,000. He stated that would suffice to assist them recover without necessitating a sale. I observed both of them there, frantic and beseeching, and recognized this was the instant I had been readying for since age 16. This was why I invested 3 years investigating their finances, developing my professional ties, and arranging my retaliation scheme. I informed them I required time to consider all and would respond within a week. Warren clutched my limb as I departed and stated I better act rightly for kin. But here's what they still fail to grasp. I already know precisely what I'll do, and it's not their anticipation. The actual contest is merely commencing, and they lack any notion of what's approaching. Update 2. Everyone, you won't believe what transpired when I convened with Warren and Lucy yesterday. Some of you in the responses deduced I had additional plans, and you were totally correct. This became far more chaotic and gratifying than I foresaw. So I contacted Warren 3 days post-testament recitation and informed him I was prepared to discuss the legacy matter. He instantly became enthusiastic and stated they could meet wherever I preferred. I proposed the cafe in the city center where we occasionally went with mother and father, impartial ground. They arrived 15 minutes ahead and had already requested beverages. Lucy wore this outfit I identified as one she acquired for employment discussions last year. Warren had trimmed his hair and was attired more neatly than I'd observed in months. They were obviously attempting to create a positive impact. I seated myself, and Warren began speaking right away about how thankful they were that I was open to collaborating. He stated kin should unite particularly in tough periods like this. Lucy affirmed and stated they never intended to wound my emotions with their post-burial statements. I permitted them to speak for roughly 5 minutes about kin fidelity, acting correctly toward one another. Then I extracted the binder I had carried and placed it on the surface. I informed them we needed a fully candid discussion prior to any choices regarding the legacy. I stated there were elements I required them to clarify first. Warren inquired what I meant, and I opened the binder. I removed the initial paper, which was a credit summary I had acquired for Lucy 3 months back. I pushed it over the surface and requested her to explain why she owed $47,000 on charge cards with base payments she couldn't manage. Lucy's complexion turned entirely pale. She questioned how I obtained her credit details and why I was examining her economics. She stated that was an infringement of her seclusion and not my concern. I informed her it became my concern when she and Warren chose to handle me like refuse throughout my existence, and then insist on legacy funds they didn't gain. I stated I've been observing both for years, awaiting their genuine revelation. Warren attempted to mediate and stated we should concentrate on progressing, not raising past complaints. I removed the second paper, which displayed his wagering deficits from the gaming house over the prior 18 months. $12,000 squandered on card games and betting matches. Warren stared at the document and questioned if I employed an investigator to monitor them. He stated this was deranged conduct and demonstrated I had severe confidence problems. He asserted the wagering was merely sporadic amusement, and I was exaggerating it. Lucy interjected and stated the charge card liabilities stemmed from health costs when she needed dental repairs last year. She stated she was handling 2 positions attempting to reduce it and didn't require my critique of her economic choices. I informed Warren that sporadic amusement doesn't lead to rejected payments to the gaming cashier, which I also possessed records of. I informed Lucy that health costs don't account for the $5,000 she expended at luxury apparel outlets or the $3,000 on a trip to Florida. That's when both became highly protective. Warren stated I was behaving like a pursuer, and this entire dialogue was unsuitable. He stated typical siblings don't probe each other's personal existences this way. Lucy charged me with envy that they enjoyed more in their lives while I was occupied being dull and accountable. She stated perhaps if I mastered relaxation, I wouldn't be so resentful about all. I questioned if they wished to learn why I began collecting this data initially. I described the dialogue I overheard at 16, where they plotted dividing mother and father's funds after their passing. Warren discussed vending the residence promptly, and Lucy computed the value of father's implements and mother's adornments. Lucy even quipped about giving my items to charities since I wouldn't be present to retrieve them anyway. Warren rejected ever engaging in that dialogue. He stated I was fabricating tales to rationalize my odd fixation with their finances. He asserted I was likely experiencing a psychological collapse from mourning and wasn't reasoning clearly. I extracted my device and activated another audio from 2 years prior when they assumed I was in the restroom during holiday meal. Warren was informing Uncle Anderson that I behaved as if I controlled the location and needed to recall my status in the kin. Lucy chuckled and stated at least post-mother and father's passing, they wouldn't need to feign including me. The quietness at the cafe surface extended for nearly a minute. Other patrons were beginning to glance toward us. Lucy's complexion was fully flushed, and Warren was gazing at his palms. Warren eventually stated the audio was unlawful and demonstrated I was emotionally unstable. He stated ordinary individuals don't covertly capture kin for years. He asserted this indicated I had grave mental issues and couldn't be relied upon for significant choices like legacy. I informed him I learned to shield myself because no one else in the kin ever did. I stated, when you mature knowing your siblings await your folks' demise to discard you, you begin noticing specifics. Lucy attempted a varied method and stated perhaps they all uttered hurtful things over time. She stated kin experience difficult phases and harbor resentments, but the key is acquiring forgiveness and advancing united. She stated the legacy circumstance was an opportunity for all to begin anew. I reminded him of my higher education completion, where they departed the event prematurely and skipped the celebratory meal. I raised my residence warming event, where they arrived 2 hours delayed, and devoted the time to griping about the area.